And here to kick off our discussion about mobile media is Debra Sanchez. She's, yay Debra. Let me tell you a little about her. Debra is Senior Vice President for Education and Children's Content at the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. At CPB, they devoted a great deal of time and thought to maximizing the impact of educational content across platforms, from television to digital media. So we look forward to hearing what Debra has to say today. Deb?
So I'll have to tell my husband that I was officially called a provocateur in the Irish group, because he likes to say that I do that at home sometimes. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today. And when I talked to Vicky in preparation for this conversation, I told her that I read the report 3 times. I first read it as a parent of 2 small children. So I have a son who's 7 and a daughter who's 10. Just curious, by show of hands, how many people in the room have children in this specific age group? So a fair amount. And how many people, well, I came from DC, we were just home for the most ungodly amount of snow days. But experiencing my kids' use in real time of the many media platforms that we have in our home. And I wrote a blog post that I shared just about how overwhelming it is as a parent, and really the support that's needed for parents in this space. But I also read the report, so I took my parent hat off, and then I read the report as a media professional. And I wanted to just quickly clarify. So CPB and PBS, we work very closely together to really provide an outstanding service to our nation's children and families. We work with a number of partners in the room, WGBH, Sesame Workshop, WNET, calling all of our partners out. But we really, really collaborate quite closely to really determine what's the best service. And that's really an important word. It's about service to kids and to families. So at PBS, it's about curating content, distributing content, thinking about content that's going out to families. CPB is responsible for managing the federal funding that we receive annually from Congress. So we really think about how best those precious federal dollars are distributed in a way that helps build a greater service for kids and families. So I just wanted to clarify that, because sometimes people are like, gosh, I just love All Things Considered. And I'm like, me too. I don't work there, but we work with them. But just to clarify kind of the unique roles that we all play and do together. We also manage, PBS and CPB, a grant that we received from the Department of Education. It's called Ready to Learn. There are a number of folks in this room that work with us on that project. Shelley Pasman from EDC, Kevin Clark's on our advisory committee. So we manage this grant, and this year, the past 4 years so far, we've been looking specifically at transmedia and kind of the experience, not on distinct platforms, but really the integrated approach of delivering content in a way that really meets kids where they are. So, media professional hat, I read the report. Then I tried to meld both of them together. And then I laid down for a little while. But really, I think, a few big takeaways, and some of the data, clearly not surprised. Again, living through this in my own home and watching my daughter, who's 10, kind of age out of educational content, where she's noticing content and marking it on our calendar, and I'm like, what is that show? And she's like, it's a great show, and I'm like, it's junk. So this is the house that we live in. But anyway, and then watching my son, who just turned 7, kind of begin to transition, and who's really being drawn by my daughter's interests and following her lead in this media space. And me feeling sometimes like my kids are holding this thing in the palm of their hand, and they're kind of looking at it and kind of looking at me, and I'm like, what's in it? And they're like, well, we're playing with this thing. And I'm like, well, what's in that thing? And this is what I think of as a mobile device. It's something in the palm of their hand that I don't always know what it is, or I'm not necessarily part of. And I really think, and thinking about implications for mobile, I think the pass-back phenomenon has created kind of this environment where parents automatically opted themselves out of the mobile experience with their kids because you handed your phone back to your kids and your kids interacted with the game. The phone came back to you and the screen was your original home screen. And you'd look at it and you'd say, gosh, what did they learn? What did they gain from that experience? I know what apps were on there, but really kind of understanding what they gained. So in our Ready to Learn work, I know I have 1 minute. I'm going to try very hard to meet that. But in our Ready to Learn work, we really tried to explore building this kind of optimal loop where we can really look at tracking kids on these devices. It sounds kind of NSA type, and it's not that way. But it's really looking at kind of where their learning experiences were. What did they gain from the experience that they just interacted with on that mobile device or online? And potentially making recommendations to parents about what they can do to help. That's a big deal, right? So it's a big deal to have that communication loop back to parents so that they know that there's something that's happening that's of value. My kid is experiencing this great educational content, but I also like to know what they're doing with it, how they're working with it, and what else they need and how I could support them. So that's something that we're working with Ready to Learn. I also think about the data about TV, and we like to think TV is still king. Clearly, the data shows TV is still king. But I think there's an opportunity for us to figure out how best, and we're really looking at this through Ready to Learn in a lot of ways and many other ways as well, but how do you use that television experience to really pivot and transition into the media of mobile media and online space? So, quick example, working with Sesame Workshop, the electric company built at the end of their series, kind of this virtual world. So live action, electric company series. At the very end, there was a virtual world that was built in. And kids were invited through this virtual world to come with the characters and solve math problems. So you would watch the video on TV, you'd watch this interactive 2-minute virtual experience, and then the kids would go and create their own avatar and work with the characters in the electric company. Now, we didn't do a ton of research on that, but we did see huge growth in web traffic as a result of that experience. So that's something I think that we are continuing to look at. I mean, how do you optimize those experiences, and how do you really leverage kind of the TV experience and figure out ways to kind of connect it more meaningfully to the online good? And I think I'm out of time. I have more stuff to say, but I will pass it along to other people. But thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today.